Welcome to the UNLV Folio Basics Training. My name is Winnie David, and I'm the Faculty Information Systems Manager for UNLV Folio. At the end of this presentation, Delisle Bowen, who is the Applications and Data Specialist in the Office of Faculty Affairs, will provide a demonstration of UNLV Folio. In this session, we will be going over the importance of the UNLV Folio system, as well as the different modules that make up UNLV Folio. We will then go over how to get started, including logging in and the different elements that make up the user dashboard. Next, we'll go over Faculty 180 and explore the different pages of this module. We'll then take a high-level look at the Review, Promotion, Tenure module. After that, we'll go over Your Packets, which is where you will find your packet or case if you're going through an academic review. I'll then point you to more resources and training on the UNLV Folio Resources and Training page. Lastly, we'll conclude with a demonstration of UNLV Folio. UNLV Folio is the university's faculty activity reporting system in which faculty enter and report on their scholarly activities, teaching, and service. UNLV Folio user accounts are provisioned for all full-time academic faculty. Deans are also provisioned an account which primarily allows them to run reports in the system. Accounts are not automatically created for visiting faculty, so if you are a visiting faculty member, we just ask that your department chair reach out to UNLV Folio support, letting us know that an account should be created for you. Additionally, faculty from the School of Medicine, they are not added to UNLV Folio because the School of Medicine has their own database called SOM Folio, and they are added to that system. The intent of UNLV Folio is for it to serve as a repository for all of the faculty members' achievements, and then that data can be used for each of their reviews. We've also used the system to streamline various academic reviews like annual evaluations, mid-reviews, and tenure and/or promotion reviews. We are also able to use the system for important mandated reports like the Entry Out of Classroom Activity Report, accreditation reports, and Top Tier 2.0 metrics, for example. UNLV Folio is also integrated with the Academic Analytics Faculty Insight tool, which is a useful tool for faculty to help them locate and identify funding opportunities and awards and help them find potential collaborators. Overall, this system ensures fairness, transparency, and consistency. UNLV Folio consists of 3 modules: Faculty 180, RPT, which is also known as Review, Promotion, and Tenure, and Dossier. The Faculty 180 module is one of the modules where faculty spend most of their time when using UNLV Folio. This is the area where they track their professional and scholarly achievements. It is both a database used to store their information, as well as a reporting tool to generate reports based on those achievements. For example, faculty member can create pre-formatted CVs and biosketches, and unit administrators can create reports on scholarly citations for everyone in their academic unit. Additionally, we have the new IDS, which is short for Interfolio Data Service, and this is an add-on service to the Faculty 180 module that locates citation data for faculty to review and add those data points to their records, and this is to help with data entry. The Review, Promotion, and Tenure module is a workflow module and is used to conduct academic review processes managed by the Office of Faculty Affairs, and those include annual evaluations, mid-reviews, and tenure and/or promotion reviews. The last module in UNLV Folio is Dossier, which is a virtual storage area. Here, faculty can collect and manage copies of their personal and scholarly materials, they can request and review letters of recommendation, and they can collaborate with their colleagues. Since this is a virtual storage area that's managed by the faculty members, we won't be covering this topic in today's session, but we do have resources available on our Resources and Training page to help you get started with Dossier. So if you haven't logged into UNLV Folio before, you can open up any of the recommended browsers, which include Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, and in the search bar, you can type in UNLV Folio. Typically, it is the first link that is listed in the search results that you will want to select, and it's usually titled UNLV Folio, Office of Faculty Affairs. And once you click on that link, you'll be taken to the UNLV Folio page. Alternatively, you can enter the web address directly in your browser. The website URL is unlv.edu/ofa/processes/UNLV Folio. And then you can bookmark this page because you'll want to return to it to enter in your activities and achievements. The UNLV Folio page will open, and then you can select Log into UNLV Folio with your ACE account. Next, you'll enter in your ACE credentials and complete the multi-factor authentication. You will then be taken to the UNLV Folio dashboard, and on the next slide, we'll do a quick overview of what that looks like. We briefly went over the modules that make up UNLV Folio. These can all be accessed directly from the homepage of UNLV Folio. Starting with the Faculty 180 module in the left navigation menu, you can access tools within this module, and it's primarily where faculty will spend most of their time updating their relevant experience. Department chairs and deans will have the ability to run reports based on data that has been entered by faculty for their unit. They will see the reports option listed in the Faculty 180 module section. So if you are a chair or dean who has access to the reports feature and would like to learn more about running reports, you can book a one-on-one appointment with UNLV Folio support to learn more about this feature, or you can go to our resources and training page and view the resources we have available. Moving down the menu is the Review, Promotion, and Tenure, or RPT module. Here you can access cases created by your institution for review, promotion, and tenure. Primarily, if you are a reviewer listed on a committee, you'd go here to access cases. Additionally, for your annual review, you'll go to cases to complete and review your annual evaluation report and complete the sign-off requirement. The third module we talked about was Dossier, and that's again the virtual storage area for important documents. You can click on your name in the upper right corner of the page to access Dossier. Once you click on your name, a menu will drop down and you can click Interfolio Dossier. At the far left of the screen is the toggle button, and clicking this button collapses the navigation menu, and clicking on it again shows the navigation menu again. The main window is where all of the page contents will be displayed. From the home page, you'll have a task list. Any task that you're a part of will be displayed. You can also search through your task list if it's very long. And then I mentioned earlier about the Interfolio data services. If they've located any citations or data for you to review, it'll appear in this section, and you'll want to click on Activities Needs Review in order to view the activities they've found, and you can also review any activities you've accepted. Lastly, you can use the shortcuts at the bottom of the page, the home page, to add an activity or achievement or input scholarly contributions. Moving down the Faculty 180 menu is the Profile form, and this is used by faculty members to input personal data that tends to remain static over time, such as contact information, degrees, credentials, and work experience. The section headings give you an idea of what information belongs in each section. The UNLV Folio support team imports information from Workday for you, and those fields that we import information for you will become logged. So we import information from Workday into the personal information, contact information, current position, current employment details, and that's on a regular cadence of beginning of January, April, July, September, and November. And then we also import information into the Graduate Faculty Status and Privileges section at the beginning of each semester. I encourage you to go through even the information we import from other systems of record, go through those sections and review it, and if something is incorrect in the locked fields, contact UNLV Folio support and we can help get it fixed or point you to the correct contact for the system of record in order to fix it there. If you are wondering as you go through this what information belongs in a section, you can click on the help icon in the far right next to each heading to find out more information of what belongs in that section. Moving down the left navigation menu, we move on to the Activities page. This page captures your activities, achievements in teaching, service, creative endeavors, and other scholarly works. And as with the Profile page, the section headings give you a general idea of what information belongs in each section. If you're not sure, again, you can click on the Help icon to get more information about what belongs in that section. And then we also import data into some of the sections on the Activities page as well. And these include teaching, scheduled teaching, which comes from My UNLV. And we do this on a regular cadence of beginning of February, mid-May, beginning of September, and mid-December. And then we also import information into the scholarship, grants, contracts, and funded activities managed by the Office of Sponsored Programs, and that's done on a quarterly basis from reports we receive from the Office of Sponsored Programs. So if something looks incorrect in the locked fields, again, you'll want to contact UNLV Folio support, and we can help guide you and get that information corrected. Generally, if you want to make changes in UNLV Folio or add a new record, you want to begin by expanding the section you want to change or update, and you can do this by clicking the arrow next to the section heading to expand it. Once the section is expanded, and if you have any records in there, there'll be a table summary listing all of those records, and then at the bottom of the table summary, there's the Add button. You'll want to select the Add button to add a new record to the section, and a new page will open where you will supply the relevant and required information at a minimum in order to save the record. But definitely you'll want to provide as much information related to that record as possible so that your chair or supervisor or whoever is reviewing your records has a clear picture of exactly what that record entails. If you have records that exist in the table already, you have the option to make edits to the record by clicking the Edit pencil, and then the form will appear where you can make changes to the record. Alternatively, you can use the X button to delete the current record. I do want to caution that once you delete the record, it's permanently gone, and I want to remind you that, again, UNLV Folio serves as a repository for all of your data, so that the data can be used for your subsequent reviews, not only annual evaluation. And then I want to emphasize that you can add or edit records throughout the year. You do not need to be going up for a specific review process. UNLV Folio is available to you at any time during the year. So as you go through and begin to enter and update your records, we do have some recommendations or best practices. The first one is that you'll want to enter the activity into UNLV Folio as soon as it occurs. That way it's fresh in your mind, but also when it comes time for review, you're not scrambling to enter in all of that data. It'll be accumulating over time of all of your accomplishments so that it's there when it's ready for you to go through a review. And then as I mentioned on the previous slide, you'll want to enter as much information related to the activity that you participated in or the achievement so that your supervisor has a complete picture of, or any reviewers has a complete picture of what you are telling them through the record. And then once you've entered an activity and say it requires an update, such as the end semester has changed and the activity has ended, you want to go back in and make sure you update the end semesters for that record, and also any statuses of your publication. So if you initially set a publication to in progress, you'll want to go in and update that status so that it is listed as completed or published at that when the time is appropriate. If an activity is no longer ongoing, say you're no longer serving on a committee, you want to ensure that the end date reflects that the activity has ended. And I want to reiterate, if something looks incorrect in your UNLV Folio account and it's something that we have imported for you, definitely reach out to the UNLV Folio support so that we can work with you to get the information corrected as soon as possible. And then if you have any questions about where an activity should be entered, you can certainly reach out to UNLV Folio support for help, and you can email us or book a one-on-one appointment. But we also have this reference document. It's called UNLV Folio, Where Does It Go? And it provides a description of what belongs in each section, as well as provides examples of what might belong in that section. Moving down the left navigation menu is the Forms and Reports page. We aren't actively using this page, so to limit confusion, I'm not going to go over it now. But if and when we do use it in the future, we will provide helpful information on what this entails, so be on the lookout for that. Moving down the navigation menu is the Vidas and Biosketches option. We currently don't use Vidas in my templates, but we do use the Legacy Vidas, which is in the sub-menu. And once you click on the Legacy Vidas option, there are two sections. One is the Vida Admin, and one is Vida and Profile Systems. In Vida Admin, you see Vidas and Biosketch templates that are used to output your profile information and scholarly activities information for various purposes. Here you see Vidas created at the university level that you have access to. They are designed for use with specific institutional reviews. You can also create your own Vida templates for personal use, such as a CV. Use the View icon, which is the blue eye icon, to view what the Vida would look like with your information and the data that you've entered into UNLV Folio. Select the Add button to add your own Vida or Biosketch. For example, if you want to create a Vida with specific fields from your profile and activities section, and none of the templates already created will work for your purposes, then you can select Add to start from scratch or use a template that exists. Next to any Vidas that you've added, you can edit, delete, or clone any of the Vidas that you've added yourself. So use the pencil symbol to make edits to the existing Vida. Alternatively, you can use the X button to delete the Vida, and the two squares symbol allows you to make a copy or clone of that Vida or Biosketch. These buttons only appear for Vidas and Biosketches that you have created for yourself. Notice that you can view any template indicated by the blue eye icon, but you can only edit or clone Vidas or Biosketches that you create. Under the Vida or Profile Systems on the Vidas and Biosketches page, this is an area where you can connect your ORCID ID if you have one. If you don't have an ORCID ID and need to set up an account, you can always come back and set up your ORCID ID in this area. You'll have to authorize UNLV Folio to be able to access your ORCID record. And then you can also revoke access at any time if you change your mind. But once you have authorized access, you will see the option to import your activities from your ORCID record into UNLV Folio. You can click the import button to get the process started. And we do have a resource available on our resources and training page that walks you through the process of connecting your ORCID to UNLV Folio, and other resources created by the libraries that helps you with setting up your ORCID account. Moving down the left navigation menu in the Faculty 180 module is the Find Colleagues option. You can use this page to locate faculty on campus who have expertise in a certain area or field that your project relies on. You can search the various profile or activity sections with specific keywords. Now we'll jump to the Review, Promotion, and Tenure module, which is referred to as RPT for short. This is where system administrators like myself set up cases and the review workflow that the applications or cases will go through for those undergoing a review process like annual evaluations and tenure and promotion applications. For those of you who are reviewers, say on a committee, you will see a cases option in the navigation menu. Also, for annual evaluations, part of a faculty member's role is to review the report that their chair has written for them and complete the sign-off form. You'll go ahead and do that here under cases. To open up a case, you'll want to click on the name of the case you want to open. In this example, we'll click on Scarlet Grape to open up her case. Once her case is open, generally as a reviewer of a case or application packet, there are two tabs you will want to use. The first tab is the Case Materials tab, which provides access to the application materials submitted by a faculty member for a review. The second tab is the Case Details tab, where you will find the instructions you need to complete as a reviewer. We do encourage you to review or attend our trainings for more specific instruction and direction for a specific review process. So our resources and training page has recorded trainings on annual evaluations as well as tenure and promotion, and you may want to review that as you get closer to your annual evaluation or tenure and promotion process. And then lastly, I want to point you to your packets. So in the left navigation menu, there's your packets option. And if a case is created for you for any review process, you'll receive a notification via email and also be able to access it from the Your Packets option in the navigation menu. But once the Your Packets page opens, you can access active application packets or completed packets. For completed packets, you can see what materials you submitted during a past review. So lastly, I just want to point you to resources and training that's available. You can visit our resources and training page for more information on specific review processes and general information. You can also book a one-on-one appointment with UNLV Folio support team, and this can be either in person or virtually, depending on your preference. And that's it. Thank you all for your time. I'll turn it over to Delisle for the demonstration of UNLV Folio.
So logging in, I'm going to log in as our demo account, which is Scarlet Gray. And here is the dashboard and the navigation menu here. For this demonstration, I'm going to go to the activities page. Hopefully, there it is. And then because as was explained, the activities is where most of your time is going to be spent in entering records. As you complete your activities, you can come here and put them in the category that they belong in. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the scholarship, scholarly, and creative work because it is a little different than the rest of the sections. Plus, this is probably where you will spend most of your time. So if I click on the little arrow, I then see the summary table for the records that are in this section. There are quite a few here, but you may have quite a few more. If you have more than 25 records, you'll see a little box over here on the upper right corner of the summary table that will allow you to choose how many records you want to see at one time. So if you have a lot of records and you're looking for a specific one, there are a couple of ways to do that. One is just using the search feature here, where you can input a few keywords and hopefully it will take you to the record that you're looking for. Alternatively, you can sort your records. Any of these columns that have a little arrow at the top can be sorted. They can be sorted in ascending or descending order. So if I wanted to sort by type, for instance, I would click the little arrow. The first time it would sort by ascending, and then I could click it again, and then it would be sorted as descending. You can also sort it by the status, the term, almost any, in this case, almost any of the columns you can sort by. I want to point you also to this particular column here, origin. This does not appear in a lot of the sections, but it does appear in the scholarship, scholarly and creative work section. And this will tell you where the origin or how this particular record was imported into the scholarly and creative work section. As Winnie pointed out, you have an opportunity to import records from your ORCID account. There are a couple of other ways to do that, and we'll be showing you that in just a moment. I want to show you also, or point out that in each record, as Winnie had pointed out before in the profile section, you also have the opportunity to edit a record by clicking on the little pencil, deleting a record if you don't want it to be in your account any longer, or cloning a record. This is where she talked about the Vitas, but you can also do this with with your scholarly works. This saves you a little bit of time. Say, for instance, you have a presentation that you've given in more than one venue, or at a different time, rather than having to re-enter all of that information to record that particular activity. You can start with the one that's similar, click on the clone icon, and then just change the information for your new record, and that would save you some time. Today I'm going to show you how we might add a record by clicking on the Add button at the bottom left of your summary table. So if you have a long list of records that are showing in your summary table, you might have to scroll down, but it's always at the bottom left. So I'll click Add. This takes you to a sort of interim screen, which is unique to the scholarly work section. And here again, you have some opportunities to get your records into the system in a couple of ways. I already mentioned the ORCID import, and we'll take a look again real quick later on at where that is, but there are other opportunities to import records from other systems or other accounts that you may have. For instance, if you have your records in Google Scholar account, you can use the generic BibTeX option to import them there. You might also have records in one of these other systems, and if you click on that and choose that option, then it'll show you a screen, and you can go through the options to import those records. And then on your summary screen, you'll see under that origin column where those records came from. We're not going to do that today. I'm going to show you how to enter a manual activity, enter it manually. And so the first thing you do is you want to select the category, or the subtype, if you will, of the activity, and you can see that there are a variety of different options to choose from. So these can get very specific. Each of these sections will bring up a blank record that requires different nuanced information, so that you can be very specific about the activity. Today we're going to use journal article as an example. So I choose journal article, and then I click continue. And then here we have the input form. And you can see that there are a lot of different fields, opportunities to really be specific about your activity, but there are two here in this instance that are required. And you can tell that they're required because they have a little asterisk. Any field in any record that has an asterisk must be filled out in order for the record to be saved. So because status is required, I'm going to choose a status for this particular journal article. And you can see that you have a lot of opportunities to kind of track the progress of a journal article. And so just for purposes of demonstration, I'm going to choose the first one, which is in progress. Then you have an opportunity to enter the semester in which this particular status applies. So I'm just going to leave it for fall 2022. So then we have an article title, and I just choose something that I've already done before. See, learning UNLV Folio. Again, as Winnie explained, the more information you enter of a particular record, the more benefit it will be to you and to your reviewers or your unit for reporting purposes. But because this is just a demonstration, I am not going to try to enter all of those other fields. Then we come down to the contributors. My name as Scarlett Gray is already in there, but my role, you can see, is still needs to be identified. In this particular instance, there's just a few options. I can identify myself as the author, the editor. I wouldn't be a student because I wouldn't be in the system, so I'll just choose author, and then I can add other contributors that have authors or editors or student collaborators. I can add those here. If I wanted to do that, I would click the add button, and then I have a couple of choices. So where it says select faculty at your institution, that actually is a little bit misleading because it's only faculty at your institution who also happen to be in the system. So for instance, of course, student contributors would not be in the system. Also, specifically, if you are collaborating with faculty from the School of Medicine, they would not be in the here either because the School of Medicine has its own instance of Folio, and so they would not show up here. But don't worry, because there's another option, and you can say you add another co-author. And if you do that, then you can add anybody, anywhere, whether or not they are at UNLV at all or at another institution. You can add them manually here. So you do have that choice. You can definitely add other co-authors. If you do choose a faculty member who is in the system, and you enter them, you do it by choosing this option and then choosing their name. They will get a notice in their account that you have named them as a co-author and or a contributor, and then they would have an opportunity to accept that record in their account. I'm not going to do any of that now, but those are your options for that. Then going down further, you have an opportunity to enter a URL if some website you want to your article is on a website, or you want to refer to some information about your article on a website. You can do that here. Opportunity to add a more detailed description, and then the citation. There are lots of citations to choose from, as was explained before. Whatever citation you use here, then that you can use in your own personal vita that you create yourself. But I just want to make you aware that for institutional vitas, that that citation format has been already chosen and it cannot be changed. Currently, what we use here for our reviews is, I think it is APA 6th edition. Going on down further, we have the activity classification, and of course, just as it says, this helps us classify that particular activity, and this is an opportunity also to be more specific about that activity and what it entails. It helps you in identifying your activities and sorting them for your own records, but it also helps us helps your reviewers as well as those of us who do reporting to help categorize activities. So you have an opportunity to put keywords, and there's you can see what for a particular journal article. So these are some of the choices. Each subtype that you would choose from in our previous screen and would have a different set of activity classifications based on the kind of activity that it is. For instance, in creative performances. There would be options for choosing exactly what kind of performance it was, or what kind of activity this was associated with a particular artistic activity. So it can get very detailed, and so it's kind of important to go take the time to just click the different options and kind of zero in on the details of this particular activity. In this section, you can see though that there are three that have the asterisk, so those would have to be uh, entered in order to save the record. So I will just see, this was non-refereed, so I'll do that. And then if you have a question about what a particular activity classification is asking, this is a place where you can click the little help question mark there and get some more information about whether or not you should answer yes or no to this particular question, for instance. So that is very helpful, and we try to provide that extra help for any of the activity classifications. So based on what I just read, I'm sure that this is not considered an interdisciplinary work. And then I had no student collaborators, so I'm going to say neither. So then you have an opportunity again to reference some other materials for this particular record that you're trying to capture. And one of those is attachments. You can attach, for instance, perhaps you want a draft of the journal article that you're doing, or when you finish it, you want to attach that one as well. You can upload a file, but you can also point to a URL. And if you do that, then you can see that it just gives you an opportunity to put that URL here. You can always add another one. So if I want to have a URL and a file, then I can add that here. So and as far as I know, there are no limits to the number of attachments. There is a limit to the size of each attachment, and I'm not sure what that is, but I think we have that someplace, don't we, Winnie?
I can't recall
Okay.
offline, but if there's a problem with it, then definitely reach out to us. We'll
Yes.
let you know.
Awesome. Okay, so say that I've got all the information in my record that I want, so I'm going to save it. And so there are a couple of ways to do that. One is to just hit save. If I do that, I save the record as it is right now. I stay on the screen so I can continue to work. If you're going to be in a record for a length of time, it might be wise to just come down here and go ahead and click save to make sure that we save the record. There is a timeout on each screen from our vendor, and it's supposed to be 60 minutes, but that doesn't mean necessarily that it happens that infrequently. So it would be good to intermittently save it if you are in it for any length of time. Another option is to save and add another. If you are wanting to enter a lot of the same kind of records all at once, you can just click this one. It takes you right away to another blank screen, so it saves a little bit of time. Then there's save and go back, which is it will save the record and then go back to the activities page. And then there, of course, cancel. If you decide, well, no, I don't want to do this after all, you can hit cancel. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and go back. So here we have, it shows up on our summary table, but darn it if there isn't already one there. So I decided, well, I guess I shouldn't have entered that. So I am going to go ahead and delete it. And this, I just click this little X button. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And then it goes away. So that's how you do that. So after you have entered all of the records that you know that you need to enter, and you're pretty confident that everything is pretty much up to date, you might want to see what it looks like on the output side, and that's where we talk about exporting a Vita. So Winnie went over it briefly before, but as a refresher, we're going to try this again. So I am going to go over the Vitas and BioSketches. If this was closed, I could do this. And then I can see the legacy Vitas. And I'm going there for a particular reason, and that is because this is where we we use this for our institutional Vitas, and these are the Vitas that get exported automatically to the RPT section for reviews like annual evaluations and tenure and promotion applications. So I want you to be able to view this for yourself once you are ready to do view your record. It's already gone. Say it's already gone over to RPT, and you want to see what it looks like. Or even before that happens, that might be a good thing to do. You want to view it. And so I'm going to, as an example, let's just do the faculty annual achievement report. So this is an institutional Vita, and typically for an annual evaluation, of course, it's for one calendar year, but our system is in semester. It shows up by semester, so we would want to say spring. So let's do spring 2022 to fall 2022. Now, of course, there's still a couple months left in 2022 before it finally goes to annual evaluation territory, but we want to kind of see where we're at right now. So let's, if I've changed this as it was explained before, I need to refresh it. Once I refresh it, then I can see what is in my Vita right now. What if it had to go to a reviewer, this is what it's going to look like as far as the information is concerned. This is just what it looks like on the screen. And so I can look down here and kind of take a look, make sure that what I expect to show up is showing up. I can make sure that there are no errors. But if there is an error, if there's something that you need to change, for instance, oh, I forgot to enter a description or some other information for a particular record, you cannot edit it here in this screen. You would have to go back to that section. For instance, if it was in directed student learning, you would want to go back to that screen and correct that record, and then you could run your Vita again and take a look at it. So another advantage of doing this, say after you have submitted your case, is to come back here to this section and download or save your Vita here, because even though you can see it in your case, you cannot download it from your case. So it makes it kind of handy to do that. So in order to do that, you would hit export share. Now your case in RPT is going to look pretty much like the PDF version. So we recommend that you export it as PDF, but you're certainly welcome to export it any way you like, because this is your record for yourself. So if you, I'm not going to do this now, but these are your options here to export the Vita for your own records. So I think that's kind of the end of my demonstration, in case, unless there's anything else. Oh, no, wait, there is one other thing. I'm sorry, I forgot. If we go back to the legacy Vitas, I just wanted to reiterate what Winnie had said about ORCID. This is where you can see the ORCID registry. If you haven't already connected your ORCID account, this is where you do it. And then if you wanted to import records that will show up in your scholarly works, you would come here and do it here. So, okay, now I think I've done it.